Hello, 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 hello out there. It's another phenomenal evening here with Uncensored Conversation with Elevated, Not Tolerated. I'm your girl, and we're ready to have some fun. I'm so super excited about my phenomenal guest who's back home visiting with us, y'all. Y'all know how I love my returning guests and those people that have made a true impact into my life. And this young lady right here, she is the Biz on Bomb. If y'all don't know who my guest is tonight, it's the phenomenal, it's the one and only, it's the honorable Lisa Del Washington is in the house.
Oh my goodness. Oh my good look. I'm glad to be back home. This is always a good time. Look, I
Yeah.
love Victoria's introductions. They just make me feel so special.
Well, you are super special. You have just, you're one of those people that I think it's interesting, Lisa, that a lot of people still couldn't get over the fact that when we actually first met in person, I was like, that's because we got this great energy. What are you talking about? You may have taken us 2 years, but we made it happen. You did the thing. You brought us all into the house for the symposium, and we're gonna talk more about that. But it is so great. Hey, y'all see how look. This child does not age. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do with her. She's doing
Oh,
all
yes,
these
yes.
phenomenal things, and some of us got to work hard to keep up with you, Lisa.
Look, I'm working hard to keep up with me. Yeah, because the body, don't lie. So
Hello. Hey. And that's the thing. People don't really realize that, Lisa, that, and I say this for both of us, we are at it 100%. If,
mhm.
full-time jobs, families, you have a husband and grandchildren and children, you got a full-time job. And I got almost all of that. But it can be a really 24-hour day job if you're not doing what you need to do in order to produce what you need to produce. And so, guys, go out there and tell some people to join us because I have this phenomenal lady. I was trying to think of how I wanted to put your informational thing. And the more I typed, the more it kept coming to me. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna have a whole list of
Oh
who
my
this lady
goodness.
is. Look at you. See, that's all of you, and plus some other things that people don't know about you. I mean, you're doing some amazing things here, and we're gonna tap into all of that information on tonight because I'm telling you, I want everybody to know that if you have not joined Lisa, if you haven't reached out there and connect with her on TikTok, the girl be doing the thing on TikTok. She have me rolling, I'm cracking up. But she's doing TikTok, she's got Instagram, she's got Facebook. I tell you, this child got every social media there is. So y'all just follow her. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh,
Find
I
her beautiful
appreciate
face and go out there and hook up with her. But I really want you to tap in and befriend her so that you can stay in tune to what she's got going on and what she's doing because she's making some headway. And so, Lisa, give the people just a brief intro to who you are because I got something I'm gonna show them about you.
Oh wow. Look, this is believe it or not the most difficult part because I'm gonna miss something because like you said, I just jump in and get it done and then forget about it sometimes. But I am a wife and a mom and like you said, a Gigi. But I also am a writer. I'm an author as well as a publisher. And I don't like to forget, hey Kay, I don't like to forget that or let people forget that I'm a crafter because that is
Yes,
actually
she
part of my
is.
piece. Yes, which Victoria knows all too well because she is as well. But in a nutshell, and why I miss some things is generally speaking, I'm a creative. I've
Yes, you
always
are.
been since I was a kid. I'm just creative. My mind works all the time. So my struggle is usually about shutting down my brain as opposed to,
Mm.
forward moving. It moves all the time.
At least I can totally agree with you on that. I mean, and I think Kate sometimes fusses at me because I don't. If somebody says, did you sleep?" Well, that depends on how you determine what sleep is, because the
Exactly.
brain never shuts off. I mean, we can be having a good 8 hours nap, and the next thing you know, we up writing something
Yep.
beside in our notes that we got to make sure we catch when we're actually physically awake. And like you said, the crafting is my piece as well, the floor arrangements, people see all of that, but that's where I do kind of lower it down a little bit and kind of relax a little bit. But then it's just like, oh, wait a minute, that flower bud just made me think of something else. And
Yep.
it's like you're just going. But and sometimes, like you said, we have to force ourselves to take it easy and lay down and shut it down for a little bit. And I love seeing you and your wonderful husband. Y'all just on trips and stuff. And I'm like, she's getting a little rest in on those trips.
I'm getting it in. I have learned or trained myself because I don't never mind, packing the bag and going. So it don't take much. If he say let's go, I'm just like, what time? But he actually is a workaholic himself. So even though retired, he works all the time too. So it forces me to, kind of push some things because I got to get him out of the state before I can get him to relax, because he's always busy doing something too. That's why I don't have too many broken things in the house, because he will, fix it, which is a beautiful thing. But sometimes I want him to just sit down and relax. So that's where, and probably why when we get away, we absolutely enjoy our time away, because checking out is just a good thing. It's a good thing.
Well, I'm going to learn soon how to check out. I'm gonna Lisa, because hey Lisa, can you cover my show too on Sunday night? Because I'm gonna be out of town for like 6 months. I'm gonna get to the point. I just want to get up and go and just call it a day. But Lisa, there's a couple of things that I want people to know about you. So
okay,
I think the best thing is to give them a little bit of this.
I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. Yeah, would you believe a young nigga on the coming from the DMV would take it to these heights, man? I'm in the nosebleeds. Binoculars needed when you read from those seeds. When I jump off, it comes off as if with both feet. It's Geronimo to me.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm taking the queen of communication. I'm gonna take that and wear it proudly. Oh my goodness! When I heard Donnie's music, I was like, oh my gosh.
Donnie is one of our silent sponsors behind the scenes here at Uncensored. And I was like, what better way to introduce you on tonight? Because if it hadn't been for you, Donnie and I would have never met. And he has become not only a behind the scenes sponsor, but he has become my little big brother, and I absolutely love him. And I think the music was just perfect, because
it was
up, you're on your way up.
I love the way you think. I love the way you think.
But I said, I know you do all the communications and all the things that you have, presented to us in that arena. And, I think the title is fitting of you, of Dr. Communications. I'm sorry, everybody.
Well, I can work on the doctor. But I love the queen of communication. I'm gonna carry that with me. I like that.
Take it, girl. You tell them we said it here at Victoria Elevate. Said you are.
I know that's right.
And if they got anything to say about it, they can call me.
That's right. That's right.
But Lisa, it has been, you have transitioned some things, and I think some of the audience, they may have been looking for you. They're like, where's luncheon for Lisa? So Lisa, can you tell the people a little bit what's been transitioning with the podcast?
Well, so yes, I had luncheon with Lisa. We went for 3 years. And had an absolute ball. And Luncheon with Lisa had stemmed from my online magazine, Dove Style Magazine, and I was kind of going to do a blog on the magazine, but an opportunity came and of course, COVID came too. So right. I was actually in studio for another show where we were going in person, but we had to bring things back. So, a short while later, it was like, well, why don't you just do your own podcast? And Luncheon with Lisa had already been created as far as a blog. So I was like, okay, well, let's just I think actually one of my team members said, let's just make it Luncheon with Lisa. So I said, let's do it. So in less than 24 hours, they set me up so that
Wow.
Luncheon with Lisa started. And then Luncheon with Lisa, like I said, went for 3 years. But because I decided to brand myself with my amazing coach and friend in business and personal, Sean Lasore. Sean
Mm-hmm.
Mason Lasore. Sean and I have worked on radio in person at Bliss FM probably 10 years ago. And she's been a friend ever since. But she actually told me I needed to, you know, make Power Shut Up just a brand overall. And I talked to you, and you actually are the person who pushed me with the symposium, which was after I had the book. So I had the amazing opportunity to actually release the book in Times Square on a billboard, which was absolutely
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I'll
Wow.
never forget it. And from there, I think maybe a couple of years later, I'm not sure, but the symposium, it was something you and I
Yeah.
were talking about, and you have always been kind of a celebrator of everything that I've done, but with the Power Shut Up, because you had the book and you really enjoyed some of the lessons and things in the book, and you were kind of pushing me to say, well, you should do something, where you're helping others, on a
Mm-hmm.
bigger scale. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we had a couple of conversations. You were tapping at the bit. You were just like, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I thought about it, and I think probably a couple of days later, I said, you know
Yeah.
what? We're gonna have this symposium, and I think I only had maybe a month and a half to plan it.
Yeah. It's
But it was
quick.
online. Yes, and my team, Shariva and Cheryl and Felicia, we all got
Yes.
together, and we actually had it online and Victoria, you were one
Amazing.
of the speakers, and yeah, that's where it all started. So the podcast,
Amazing.
so then it launched into at the last symposium where we actually met in person,
Mm-hmm.
because we had two where we were online. And
Yep.
I was determined, because we met in COVID, that once we were able to, we are going to do this in person, and we
That's
did.
right. That's
And
right.
not
You
only
did.
that, but I brought all of the people who have been there, pretty much there since the beginning.
That's
Um,
right.
because that was kind of like my Power Shut Up crew team, and you all were so powerful. I kept it the way it was. Sometimes if it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
I'll fix it.
And I
Mm-hmm.
brought you all from, Donnie came from LA,
Everybody.
and you came from, North Carolina. It was amazing to finally get
Amazing.
to meet people, and not only that, other people who joined us that
Yes.
you were friends with, they came, so they also had the opportunity to meet
Yes.
you in person, because they had never met you in person. So it was
That's right.
it was absolutely wonderful, and everything's been branded into the Power Shut Up, because that's really, communication is my jam. I
Yeah,
mean,
girl.
it just is. It always has been, even before the Power Shut Up. So I just think that I've kind of circled around into, something that was my assignment in the first place.
Mm. And see, I totally agree with that, Lisa. I think a lot of times we are pulling at straws. You know what I mean? Because uh, I had this conversation with a young lady the other day, and it made very good sense. Because even all of the things that you do, the
Hmm.
book, the publishing, even down to our crafting, it's a part of our makeup of what our true intent is, our true destination is. Because if you even look at, like we said earlier, our crafting is our place of peace. Well, that means that crafting is a place of your silence, your place for being quiet, if you will, your place of thinking. But it all ties back into who you are. And
Hmm.
so the power of shut up it was just destined to be you. Because who else could bring it out like you did? There's only one Lisa Dove Washington that can bring this whole piece together and do it in such an elegant way, and still have us on pins and needles of what's going to happen next. And you do that so well with this, and I am just honored that I say this as a joke to some people. They don't get it, at least, but you know how people live. But I am just glad that I know you now, because when you get way up there, I'm going to say, hey, Lisa, Lisa, can you throw me a rope? Because I mean, this is going to go so much further. From that first conversation that we had after the Favorite Square conference, I knew that you were going to take this to a whole different perspective, and it was going to go so much better. And it was such an easy transition. I mean, I know planning in that first event in less than 30 days was interesting, but
Interesting.
you did it. Like you said, you called us Shariba and the gang, and you guys put that thing together. Next thing I know, we're getting text messages and emails and saying, "Hey, do this," and I'm like, "Whoa, she really did do this," and you have not missed a beat.
But
So
I
let
thank
me
you
ask.
for that, Victoria, because and that just goes to show you that people who are doing these kind of things, they're not doing it by themselves. I mean, I just think that the push that you gave me, because a lot of times we're so busy doing things that we're not thinking of that next step. We're not thinking of that next level up. Not that that's not where we need to be, but we have so many things going on. We're not thinking about it. So it takes people around you who are willing to say, or tap you on the shoulder and say, I know you busy doing some stuff, but I'm gonna need you, to step this up. Or I see other things for this. I'm gonna drop this one, because that's really what you did. You dropped it in my lap, and it was kind of like, I'm just saying, and it was, and so I had to just take that, because I was like, ooh, because it can be overwhelming, or it can be like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready. But it was you pushed, and I thank you for pushing me, because sometimes I'll probably, sit down on it and say, I'll get to it. And what you were saying to me just kept rolling in my head. I'm doing other things, but I kept hearing it. And then it's almost like you pushed all the excuses out the way. And I didn't have nothing else to lean on. So it was like, I ain't got no choice, because I don't have nothing else to kind of throw back at her and say, well, I can't because. So then it was like, okay, let's get to work. Let's do it. You're right. I think I did call you or text you or something and said,
Right.
you're right, and let's do it. I'm gonna do it. Yep. So
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, you should. Well, you are more than welcome, because I can say this about you. You do the same thing for me. So we just said iron sharpening iron. I mean,
Absolutely.
I tell everybody, if it wasn't for you, I would have never picked up another pen to attempt to write something else. If it wasn't for that hardcore conversation that you gave me. So it's sort of like as one turn does the other.
That's right. How about that?
But that's how but that's true friendship, and that's true collaboration, though. If a
Absolutely.
friend and a collaborator can't push each other in a positive way to do something greater that's in them, then what are we really communicating for? Right. And
Absolutely.
so, I mean, I've told you that this book is my second Bible to all of you out there. Ooh, let's see how I can do this. If you have not got your copy of The Power of Shut Up, look, you can't have mine, because I done wrote in it, I have marked in it, I have scribbled all over it. That means you need to go out there and do what I always tell y'all to do. Get 5 copies. But I'm gonna up it a notch. I need you to
Oh
go
my
out there.
goodness.
It's my birthday month. Friday is my
No,
birthday.
that's right.
I need
Woo!
everybody to help me celebrate by going out there and buying 10 copies of The Power Shut Up.
I
And
know
you said,
that's
well, how
right.
is that going to help you? Because if y'all keep giving Lisa the push button to keep doing the Power Shut Up book, then she's going to do part 2, 3, 4, 5. And I actually might get all of the nuggets that I need, guys. But I promise you, when you read this book, I promise you, it will enlighten you. It will empower you. It will do exactly what we talk about here at Elevated Not Tolerated. It's time for you to be empowered, embraced, and educated. And this book does it. There, I have to suck it up sometimes, Lisa, and go back and read a chapter and say, dang it, that darn Lisa, she said that in the book. But I can say this, Lisa, though, in the last year, there are components out of your book, there are techniques in your book. I'm going to call them techniques that have saved Mahalia, the chick over there that stays
Right.
in my head. The power chef has helped her to be quiet at sometimes, and also has helped her say, okay, you can speak up now. Because one of the
Mhm.
phrases that you always use is that, just because you think it don't mean that you have to say it.
Right.
And sometimes we don't. Sometimes we open up too quickly, and it's time for us to learn to shut it up and be
Right.
quiet and think about what we're getting ready to say. So, Lisa, now you have the podcast, the
Yes.
Power Show podcast. So, what do you want the people to know? That's because there is. I don't want to say it's any different from the Luncheon with Lisa, but it is a difference. So,
Mm-hmm.
refresh the people who haven't gone to TikTok and didn't hear your first episode. Tell the people. I don't know why that is, Lisa. I don't know why that is, but tell the people what you expect them to get out of the podcast now.
So, what I expect for people to get out of the Power Shut Up podcast is I want to share, and it really is centered around the things that I've shared in the book and more. So, I really want the platform to still be similar to Luncheon with Lisa, where I have amazing guests to come on and talk about the things that they're doing in their communities. And I'm talking about all over the world, and their businesses, the events, anything that they're doing that is empowering, inspiring, and enlightening. That's always kind of been my three kind of hashtags for everything that I do. But what I want the
Mhm.
Power Shut Up podcast to do is incorporate the techniques that I've used and shared within the book. I want to talk to the guests about situations that they've been in, and share, how did you get through this situation, or maybe even share how could you have done something differently based on communication and the power shut up. So I'm trying to do two things at one time. I'm trying to, share what they do, but also
Right.
show people in
Right.
real time how the power shut up really works, because I know that sometimes people hear the power shut up and they automatically think I'm telling people
Mhm.
to just shut up and don't have nothing else to say. Well, I am saying shut up in a loving way, but I'm actually using it in a positive way. So I'm trying to change the perspective on the words, because I know they're kind of like bad words, and I
Right.
kind of take the energy out of those that negative energy and put some power to it, so that it's not a trigger for you anymore, and it actually means something. So now for me, when I hear shut up, it's like a good trigger, and then it reminds me
Yeah.
that, okay, so maybe I'm talking too much, or maybe I'm not understanding what's going on right now, so let me take a step back. But it reminds me of things that I need to do to maybe better understand the situation in front of me, so that ultimately, like I said, I think with communication, ultimately people
Mhm.
want to be heard and they want to be understood. So I know that some people will push back like, shut up, I got something to say. But when I think about it, what I really want to push the people, and what I want the Power Shut Up podcast to do, is to push the people that, because I'm thinking, even if you're not saying anything that's really nice, maybe I think it's not
Right.
nice, but you're thinking that it needs to be said, that isn't it still true that you want to be heard and understood? And if that is the case, then even if it's something that somebody doesn't want to hear, maybe we have to make adjustments on how we deliver this message, so that ultimately we all get what we want. Because even
Yeah.
if you want to check somebody, if you're doing it in a way that they're not going to receive it, then what's the point?
That's
So
it.
that's what I'm trying to help people understand, that
That's
there's
it.
just a way that you do things. And I'm trying to challenge some of those things, but people don't want to be tone policed, and people don't want to be this, and I can say what I want. And sometimes all of these things are true. You do have freedom of speech, but along with freedom of speech comes a responsibility, an accountability. You have platforms where you're speaking to the masses. You need to be careful what you say. There's
That's
still
right.
things that or you can say things, but you have to understand that there are consequences to, if you choosing to say that, then you have to deal with the consequences behind it. So I'm just asking people to take a minute to think about what they're doing. And the tips I share in the book is just think about some things to maybe give you a different perspective. I go as far as like road rage and talking to your
Girl.
kids, things like that, because I was one. I'm fussing at people all the time, but if you think about it, I kept saying, well, have you ever asked yourself, do you really think, if you think about it on a bigger level, do you really think that people get up in the morning and decide that they want to make your life difficult today? They don't even know you. You know what I'm saying? We take everything
That's good.
so personally, and we center ourselves in everything. Like, you know, if somebody cuts you off, then we really take it personal. But how is it personal? They don't even know you. So
Right.
I just try to get people to think differently about why somebody might have slammed on their brakes or cut you off. Maybe there was something in the road and they jumped over, said it didn't mean any harm. But we're quick to go to the negative. So yeah, it's just a way for me to maybe shift some of the negative energy that I'm always feeling in the world. And let's shift some of that and maybe give it a second thought and say, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't take this so personal. Let me find out where they're coming from before I start to judge, all of those kind of things. And I just think it's important because I've watched communication in the world in the last 3 or 4 years has been just off the chain. And I think people have not recognized how powerful words can be. So the old saying that sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me, it's just not true.
That's right.
And it's never been true. There are people
That's
who are
right.
holding on to words that are 75 years old, but somebody said something to them when they were 3 or 4, and they're still hurting behind it. So you can't tell me that words don't have power, you know, stronger than a whole lot of other stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
And you know, and welcome Dr. Hampton and Kay.
Yes.
Tanoa is also one of our Power Shut sisters.
Yes.
And such a pleasure to meet her in person as well. And one of the things that she said earlier was in her comment was accountability and consequences. And that's one thing that I really enjoy about your presentations when you talk about the Power Ship and when you're even presenting the podcast and the book itself, because through all that, you hold us accountable for understanding what our consequences could be either way. Even your unique story of how, you know, you had the, I'm going to call it panic attack at one point that you talked about, you know, and showing how that transition to another level had you not done certain things and when you didn't do certain things. And it shows us that there is an accountability bar that we have to make sure that we try to reach, because like you said, the way that the world is right now is no one is truly making their own selves accountable. And I think that's the biggest problem, is that we're not forcing ourselves to make ourselves accountable. And so when I read the book originally, that the first thing I said to myself when I said, wait a minute, now I like this chick, but she talking about some shit. What you mean, Lisa? So Lisa, you give it. So in my mind, I was going, so you're giving me permission to tell people to shut up. You know, that's the first thing I thought. But see, that's how we think when we hear certain words.
That's right.
That, you know, Lisa Washington, the great communicator, is finally telling the world that we can tell you to shut up. No, that's not what she said. I'm not going to let y'all get away with blaming her for your petty moments, because that's not what she said. And as I began to read the book, and I'm like, wait a minute, she even got a chapter in here about talking to the children. What does she mean? Those chaps that I gave birth to that want to drive me crazy? You're going to tell me that I got to take another route? But it made sense. I mean, it sounds funny to us when we're talking about it as a group, but it is so true. There is certain things that we have to make sure that we know why we're saying it and how we're saying it, because we never know what those words are going to come back and do to us. Because I totally agree with you. These cliches that we've heard over the years, sticks and stones they break your bones, and all of these words will come back and hurt you. I'm just going to say, I mean, Lisa Washington has given us some great pieces of work to start with. So guys, I want to give Lisa just a breathing moment, because I'm going to come back and ask her some more questions. And welcome all of you that are watching with us on tonight. Please care, share, and like, because my girl Lisa Washington is in the house. Lisa, I'm going to let you get a glass of water, because I got some other tough questions for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
And we're going to recognize our sponsor of the week.
I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the
I give y'all a little bit.
Yes.
That's our good friend and our other brother. Like I said earlier, our brother of the Power of Shut Up. One of my brothers. Donnie got the beats. He's got that music out there. If you have not purchased your copy of that, I'm gonna tell you to go out there to Apple and get you a copy and play it all
That's
day
right.
because we be vibing to that one, y'all. We be just be vibing to that one. So Lisa, I want to ask you a couple of questions because here at Elevate Not Tolerate, we're about elevating people to that next level and letting them know that it's important to cut off things that doesn't hold them accountable, that doesn't keep them in that place of elevation. So when you think about communication and you think about people that, like you said earlier, they say things that may not absolutely be true or it may come out a certain way. How can we elevate ourselves to another level where we hold ourselves accountable for stopping and looking at the behind the scenes? How are we going to make ourselves go through that process?
Well, that's a good question. It's probably one of the hardest for people. Because I know when I talk about the power shut up, that's probably one of those scenarios where you have to elevate. Your word is so important. We do have to rise above the playing field at times, because a lot of times you right in the sandbox and the games are being played. The Rudolph and all the other reindeers are playing games, and you have to make a decision whether you're going to play along or you're going to rise above the name calling. I use Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer because they called him names,
Yeah.
and everyone joined in the reindeer games, but
Yeah.
you have to make a decision whether, and I suggest to people to kind of put themselves in someone else's shoes. Like, how would you feel if it was you? It's kind of easy
Mm,
to do what you do when you're not on this side of things. So some people will just kind of chime in because they really can't empathize. But I'm trying to push people to possibly empathize, put yourself in the person's shoes, even to I think we talked about road rage before. So we make certain assumptions when we're dealing with things, and we want to cuss people out, give them the finger, whatever it is you do, because you are just mad that they did this. But what if that was you? And
mm,
say someone fell off the curb and fell in front of your car, and this had nothing to do with all of the people behind you that are now upset with you, thinking that somehow you did something to them, when actually that's not even what the case was, when you mentioned something about it not even being true. So the narrative that they've created doesn't even exist. But we tend to see a situation and then we paint the narrative for ourselves, when sometimes
mm.
that's not even what's going on. So the reason that I push people to take a minute is because you need a minute to kind of figure this out. You can't, what do they say about assuming? Um,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Good.
we assume, and I'm just suggesting to maybe not do the assuming, but take a minute to think about, hey, maybe this is this, maybe this, it might be what you think it is. But the
Mhm.
other side of that is that it might not. It might have had nothing to do with you. It might be that you in your car had a medical emergency. And how would you feel if someone is ignoring you needing some attention and
Right.
be helped, because they're assuming that you just getting your rocks off by slamming your brakes and stuff. That might not be what's going on. But if you take a minute to
That's
assess the
true.
situation, then maybe you'll shift out of that, because we're always quick to be on the defensive. I'm just suggesting to not be so defensive about what's happening and just take a minute to think about it. I know it can be hard. Or, for instance, give the example of somebody calls you out your name. That's probably one that people deal with all the time. Somebody that called me out my name, how dare they? I was one of those people. Don't just because I'm big on
Woo.
respect. And
Mm.
then I know that there are some people who would suggest, well, you know your name, so if that's not you, that can irritate you at times, because you're like, okay, I mean, I know my name, but you still don't get to just call me whatever you want to call me. But what I suggest to people is to think about what's to gain by the conversation you're getting ready to have because somebody called you out your name. Uh,
Mm.
it,
That's
it,
good.
and I do think that sometimes we don't think things through enough to the outcome of what this could lead to, because there are a lot of people that went away from here because they just had to have something to say,
That's
and
insane.
it just wasn't that important. I want to get home every night. I
I
want to
love
get back home to my husband and see my kids and my grandbaby. So sometimes it's just not worth it. So you have to decide what's worth it. Is this really worth it? I
it.
mean,
Right.
why do you
Right.
have to prove something to people who, once you leave this particular space, you'll never see these people again?
That's
So
exactly right.
I just think it's taking that minute to assess the situation and possibly come up with a different scenario that might not mean that you respond to what's happening in the way that you're verbally matching insult, matching energy. Sometimes a different response will shift the whole situation. People can't
That's
fight with
true.
they can't fight with themselves. I mean,
Girl.
you look
That
really
is so
crazy
true.
sitting out there hollering and screaming, and the other person's not saying anything.
That's
But I
right.
think that ego won't allow you to be that person that's not saying anything because now you feel like that weakens you. And I don't necessarily see that as a weakness. I see it as a strength. But it goes
It's,
back to, even telling young men to walk away or young women to walk away from a situation, even though that's the hardest thing that people have to do. But sometimes that's the answer.
that is true. And Lisa, you brought up a great point, and I looked at a TikTok. So you got me looking at TikToks. Okay, I just want to let you know that. But I was looking at something, and Mr. Thompson saying, "Thank you so much for coming and being with us on tonight. We appreciate you
Absolutely.
so much." So, but Lisa, I was watching this TikTok, and I said I was going to send it to you later because I know you like to do little snippets on your show with different things that relate to communication. And this was one particular piece that bothered me,
Mm,
and you kind of touched on it. It was a scene where a police officer had pulled over this young couple, or maybe not pulled them over. They were in a parking lot for a
mhm.
period after a curfew hour, and the police officer, in parts of it, you see him. He's telling them that he's got to give them a ticket because they're past curfew. The young man in the couple, he said, okay, cool, I'll sign the papers, I'm good, I'm ready to go home. But the young lady, why is it always got to be us girls? The young lady proceeded to say, why are you giving me this ticket? And she went all the way to the other side of the river. And even because now, with all of the issues that we've had in the past with, the police departments and all this kind of stuff, we tend to sometimes want to challenge it when we need to be quiet. The boyfriend be quiet, and she started to rant and rave, but and then proceeded to go get her purse out of the car, and you just know, just go there, right? But then she comes back, and the police officer is saying again, are you going to sign the paper? All you need to do is just sign the paper, and he was just sign the paper. Now, okay, the other parts of it I don't necessarily agree with it, but hey, life happens. But if she had just been quiet, took a few minutes, heard what the officer said, you're out of compliance. It's after 10 o'clock or whatever time it was, you're out of compliance. But you want to challenge me. And all I'm giving you is a warning. I'm giving you a written warning. But you challenge that, and then that whole body language. So I want to get into the body language because
Mm,
sometimes everybody says I don't have a poker face, Lisa. I really don't. I really don't. You got to teach me better. You got to do a whole chapter on poker face. But sometimes it's not what comes out of the mouth, but the body language. How can
absolutely.
we how can we challenge that as a communication weakness as well? That we need to do something with that, because sometimes that
Well,
makes it even work. That starts the fire.
that's true. And I'm not just speaking as someone who wrote a book on the power shut up. I
Right.
am that girl. I am the girl who, was quiet as a child. If you read the book, I was quiet. I mean, I had a lot to say. I just didn't say it. And when I got old enough and felt like, why am I keeping my mouth shut? Then I had everything to say. But I
Right.
went from one spectrum to the other, and I didn't really like myself in either space. So that's when I had to start understanding where's that middle sweet spot where I can, say what's on my heart or say what's on my mind, but still be cautious of my delivery, who I'm
Mm,
talking to, Or like the big question is, do I even say anything? And I think
Right.
in those kind of situations, that's where it gets a little touchy, because I think that, feelings and frustrations and things are running so high with a lot of the ridiculousness out here, and people are being mistreated. So the trust factor is gone. So people are
Right.
on ready, before something even happens. So that's when those assumptions come in. You're assuming this is going to be one of those situations
Mm-hmm.
automatically. So you
Right.
go into protective mode of, you're mistreating me, or I have the right to speak up. And all of these key things can be true, but they're still not taking that minute, because there may be a situation where the young lady would absolutely be correct in speaking up, but there's still a way that you have to
Right.
do that, so that he at least understands. Because if you're just inciting more anger and more frustration, and you're in a certain
Mm-hmm.
position where this won't go well, then you have to make a decision. Am I just going to stand and say, and then my voice is never heard after this? Or am I
Right.
going to think about this and then strategically kind of think about, okay, so, how can I handle this? I'll go ahead and sign it, but I'm going to deal with this, in a legal, technical way, or
Right.
whatever it is. And I think that most people, or I shouldn't say most, I hate to use, a lot of people do not take those steps. They
Right.
usually are impulsive in the way they respond to a situation. And I'm guilty of it. I was the first person who would be like, excuse me? Like, I have the right to do so. I was that person all day long. So I know
Wow.
that's why some people kind of look at me crazy, like, Lisa is saying to take a minute, because I was not that chick. I'm clearly the sassy one at the mouth. But in doing the inner work, and from reading the book, that some of this came from me being married. So I mean, shoot, I didn't get married to my 40s, so that was a long time of me being sassy and smart as the
Girl.
mouse, all that. But not that I was wrong all the time, but I mean, I
Right.
had a mouth on me. But it wasn't until I was married and realized that this is a problem, and it's a Lisa problem. And it wasn't
Right.
that some of the things that I was saying were incorrect, but my delivery was. And if my
Wow.
purpose was to get my husband to understand my feelings about a situation, and I'm constantly getting the same pushback or the same response, I mean, I'm not getting anywhere. So I could be right all day long. But if he's not understanding, or he's not having that conversation with me, and we're really getting to resolve this, then I actually took it upon myself, not just like that, y'all. I'm not even gonna tell y'all that.
You know it's
But
overnight, Lace.
I
You
just
know you
shoot.
did it overnight.
I'm sure my husband wish it was, but I did some self work and had to
Yeah.
realize, and this is where I always say, to burn the petty files
Mm-hmm.
and to set those egos aside. I had to put my ego aside. And regardless of what the issue was with him, the work I needed to do was on me. And so I
That's
had to
good.
first acknowledge that my mouth needed to be, yeah, I needed some work. I needed to tame my tongue. I was a little too snappy at the mouth. That's ego. I had to set my ego aside to even get there. And then
Wow.
the other part of that was to decide, okay, so Lisa, what are you going to do to help fix this situation so that you and your husband can communicate better? Because it's not all his fault, it's not all my fault. But instead of doing that back and forth, well, I said this and it was like, okay, so Lisa, what can you do to make this a better situation? What can you do so that he hears you better? And what I ended up getting to was that sometimes I needed to just be quiet. A lot of times I was blocking the information that he needed to receive because I was so busy talking about it. So guess
Wow.
what? The argument was off of the situation, and now it was about how I responded to it. So I just shifted the whole
Wow.
thing and put it on me, which defeated my purpose. So I mean, how much can I blame somebody when it was me? Because I had so much to say. Now the argument is about, well, you didn't have to say that, or you didn't. That ain't even what we was talking about. We talking about something over
Right.
there that's gone. Oh, it's gone on, and ain't nobody paying no attention. So when I started to see that that was the problem, because I had set my ego aside, I was able to say, okay, so Lisa, you part of the problem. So now you got to fix your part. I can't fix his part. I
Right.
have to fix
Right.
my part. And
Right.
ironically enough, I think in any situation, whether it's communication or whatever, when you start to do self work, you would actually be
Mm.
surprised at how other people will automatically shift into self work as well. Because
Yes.
when they see a shift in you, it's all in how you make somebody feel. When I started to be a little more quiet and allow him to see things for himself, then he could make his own judgments and thoughts about things that were not, I wasn't infringing on that. And so he wasn't feeling defensive. Then you're able to see things a different way. Because of course you go on defensive when somebody's telling you something, for him, I think it was you acting like I'm stupid. I mean, I see what's going on, but now he's defending what I'm
Right.
saying, and I had to realize I was blocking, what was going on. But you got to dig into you to know that I'm the problem. I mean, how hard is it for people to say I'm the problem? Really hard.
It's
I
really
don't
hard.
hear people say that. Yeah, most
It's
people
really
would not
hard.
say I was the problem. I wasn't the only problem, but it wasn't a competition. But I was part of the problem. So I had to deal with it.
Wow. See, Lisa, you're bringing out some really, really good. You're popping in with these nuggets, and I got to hand it off to you because every time you start talking about this whole scenario, you bring other thoughts to my mind. And but I'm gonna pause for a moment because I was just notified that I did not play the last break video properly. So I'm gonna fix that. And I'm gonna
Okay.
give you a moment to drink because Lisa, I want to come back when we come back from this time. I want you to kind of give us a little feedback on how we need to, what kind of signs can we recognize that we are the problem?
Hmm.
Because sometimes we don't know. Like you said, it took you and your husband, getting into it, if you will, before you realize, yeah, it was you that had the problem and not so much as him. But sometimes we don't know that it's us.
That's true.
So can you come back and give us a little bit of hints of how we might can kind of start zooming in that it's us?
Sure.
So, guys, I'm going to reintroduce our sponsor of the month, who is our fourth Sunday sponsor, none other than the phenomenal Donnie got the beats. All right,
I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up.
that still didn't work, y'all. Give me just a second. I do apologize. See, look, my face about to show.
I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. I'm all the way up. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles, more bottles. Yeah, would you believe a young nigga on the come up from the DMV will take it to these heights, man? I'm in the nosebleeds. Binoculars needed when you read from those seats. When I jump off, it comes off as if we both feet. It's Geronimo to me. Me versus them, then you gotta roll with me. Yeah, it feels like honor roll to me, and anything less is dishonorable to me. Yeah. I did a bid in the game, shed blood, sweat, and tears, had a skin in the game. And people in the city still deny me my due. Don't mind if I take time to provide the due. So I'm throwing up deuces. I can't help being effusive.
Woo!
Listen, we just be dancing all the time. I'm gonna tell Don Luke, he gonna got to get us some outfits so we can, be behind the show dance.
Congratulations to Donnie. Congratulations to
Yeah,
Donnie.
shout out to Donnie. He's doing a great job with that. And I thank you for introducing us and having me the opportunity of calling him my little big brother. So Lisa, help me understand when it's me and I don't know it's me.
Well, so I will say this. I prayed a lot. for me, for my marriage, because really you have to have the want to do better, to get
That's
better out
good.
of the situation. So part of it is that even if you're talking to a girlfriend or you talk to you have to want this to be a positive experience. A lot of people are speaking and saying things to people and they actually are looking forward to the negative. Those
Mm,
situations, I think that people really are aware of what they're doing, but it doesn't always mean that they're aware of the consequences. Because I think when people speak out of turn like that, sometimes they're saying what they feel, it's on their heart, they feel that at the moment, but later on when they've relaxed and it's not that serious, but you've already said it. So what you can't determine is how somebody receives your moment. So you can say a lot of things to people that are very hurtful because you were just mad at the time and you think you are entitled. But what happens is even a sorry may not be enough. So
mm,
that's why it's important to think first, because you could just be having a moment. And it's true, it may be just a moment, but it could affect your relationship with whoever that person is for a lifetime, because there's
right,
no guarantee that someone will receive your sorry, or now or ever. So if
right,
that matters to you, then I think that that's something you should think about. But the way that I actually and I share some of this in the book, but I think it was something physical that happened to me that actually got me to understanding what was going on. So I had to put it all together, but it really was kind of a soul searching experience for me that changed and shifted how I even got to the power shut up, because I didn't know. I mean, I knew that I could be a little
wow,
salty at the mouth, but I never knew that me complaining about something, if I can put this into a scenario, me complaining about something that was true enough, something I didn't deserve, I was being mistreated, but me complaining about it to my husband, to friends, to things like that, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, but I
right,
was, in that I spent so much energy on complaining about this same thing over and over and over again. And what I wasn't realizing is that it wasn't changing anything.
right,
So the only
right,
person I was hurting was me. So I would say that some of the signs that I would suggest is, if you are saying what you got to say, you're getting it off your chest and you feel like they needed to hear it, so I had to say it and all that stuff, and you think you're doing your thing, but afterwards you don't feel good.
that's
You're
good,
drained.
that's good,
You're snapping at other people that don't have nothing to do with who you mad at. When you start to notice
mhm,
that's what you're doing, then that means that this is affecting you in a certain way. So maybe that's not the right way to handle this, because a lot of people pop off and then they go somewhere and they're mad for the rest of the day. That was one
right,
of the signs where I knew that I needed to stop allowing people to steal my joy, because I used to be offended with people when they would tell me, don't allow nobody to steal your joy. And my thought process was, well, who would do that? Like, who would allow
right,
somebody to steal their joy? I'm not giving them permission, but aren't you?
yeah,
Because
that's
I'm the
it,
one who's responsible for how I walk away from this situation. They don't have control over me. So if you walk away and somebody has gotten ruffled your feathers or got you feeling some kind of
mhm,
way where you hollering at people when you get home because somebody at work pissed you off, that's a you problem.
that's a you
Because you
problem,
just what you did was you took your power and you passed it over and gave somebody permission. So you allowed someone to be the puppeteer.
that's it,
Yeah,
that's
you are
it,
when it affects, and I think that people don't realize that it is affecting them, because
mm,
and here's another sign. If you are, this is something that I was guilty of. If you have a situation and you could be right about it, but if you are continuing to have to say it over
I
and over
know,
and over again, if you're constantly repeating yourself, if you are still talking about something that went on, 5 years ago or even 3 days ago, if you're continuing to vent about it, talk about
mhm,
it, then it's probably you, because you haven't
that's
released
good,
it. You haven't released it. You're still holding on to it. You're still carrying it. So if it's, and especially if it's something that pissed you off, you don't realize that all of that energy that you're carrying around, you're spewing that to everybody that you come into contact with.
mm,
And that's
mm,
why a lot of people are having situations outside of the home because maybe they're not happy at home, and then they go out in the street and they vent and they let all of that venom out on somebody who doesn't deserve it. And vice versa. You go on the street and people are doing things to you, and then you go home and you spew that all over your kids and your spouses, and they don't even know what's going on. So we just really need to check ourselves. So I push self-awareness. What got me to a better place was that I became aware. She said that can aggravate them at big time. Be quiet. Absolutely.
That's my sister cousin-in-law.
I love it. And generally speaking, I just had to become, which I know is hard for some people, but I had to start to embrace who I was and what I needed to work on with Lisa. Like, ain't nobody walking around here perfect. So if you come up upon this kind of conversation and you feel like, well, there's nothing I need to work on, I'm all good. Somebody's lying.
Somebody lying.
We all got something to work on. And if you can't admit that there's something that you could do better at, then yeah, you still the problem.
And Lisa, you're bringing up a good point that we're going to touch on at the masterclass, and that's, being authentic to yourself. And it's very important. If you can't be authentic to yourself, who knows you better than you? At the end of the day, like you said, if you're continuing to repeat yourself to correct something, then that's probably a good, strong indication you're the problem. You're the common denominator in the issue. And Lisa, would you even say that sometimes, even if you're dealing with somebody different and you have that same issue comes up, that's probably a good indication that you have an issue with something that you need to handle. That authentic you on the inside is not showing up.
Well, not only that you need to handle, but you also need to figure out why that's a trigger. And I think so many times we're trying to figure out other people's triggers, but and I'm just here to say that it is so much power in being aware of who you are and what triggers you. We're so busy defending, oh no, I'm good with that. We're so busy doing that instead of just, like you said, being just authentic with the fact that, you know what, when people say this to me, that makes me feel some kind of way. And then you unpack that, find out why. I'm not saying you're wrong about it. Maybe it should make you feel some kind of way.
That's right.
But in the end, you still have to decide, well, what am I going to do about it though? Am I going to just keep popping off every time somebody does it? Is that what you want to do? Because that ain't what I want to do for the rest of my life. So, it forever may bother you, but what you have to do sometimes is switch how you react to it. And then it's not a trigger anymore.
That's right.
But that means you got to do the work on you.
And Lisa, that's the key is, when you need to say it's you and you need to do something about it. One of the things that we talk about in the positive self-building class is going to the tap root. Why do you feel unworthy? Why do you feel like that's an issue? Why do you feel? Because there's something that's underneath the skin that we need to address. There's something else that we need to see on a deeper level. So we're going to take another quick break because I want you to come back and tell the people what's getting ready, some of the other new things that's happening with Lisa Dado Washington. Because I know you're doing some production work and help. So we want to hear all about look, guys, if y'all ain't following this girl, I'm telling you, you better follow because she's going, like Donnie said, all the way up. And you don't want to miss it. Y'all hang on. She's going to come back and tell us a few things. Give me a second. I knew I saw your face just sparkle up when you saw something. I decided to make that. I'm gonna try to change the name of the master class to the Lisa Dove Master Class, y'all. because I know you that beast Beauty and the Beast is your favorite. So
Oh, it
we're
is.
gonna
It
take it
is.
up. We're taking it to a master class component, and it's gonna probably be sometime in November, just to give you out a little air. But the
Yay.
one that's coming up the 30th is that authentic, unleashing and elevating that authentic self on the inside. And so you kind of pushed us with that, making us make sure that we make people understand that they got to be real with themselves. And so we're going to come on October the 30th, and we're going to give them a whole little few things to think about, Lisa. We might have to put you down, said, and the resource is call Lisa for your next appointed time. So, Lisa, we got the systems, y'all. Y'all just stay with us. So, Lisa, tell the people what you got going on. I know you can't tell us everything now. You can't tell us everything. But give us a little bit of an intro to what's coming up with Lisa. Is there another book coming out? We know there's another symposium, y'all. We got to have a symposium every year. That's got to happen. But Lisa, tell us what some other things that's going on with you.
So, the biggest thing that I'm working on that I'm very excited about is I am part of a TV production team. Dr. Gail Crowder, which some of you may know, some of you may not. She is a marriage therapist, master sexpert. Gail has been for years, but I met Gail online on Facebook years and years ago. It's been a long time, but she actually has a conference called Bringing the Sexy Back to the Marriage every January, I believe. And I go every year to kind of just get some tips and stuff. She really pours into wives in a wonderful way, and it really is about the wives. So she don't want to hear about what he did. It's about what are you doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of another thing on that list of self-checking. She makes us check ourselves. Wives, what are you doing to show up to be the best wife you can be? So I absolutely love what Gail does, and she has actually transitioned Bringing the Sexy Back into a Marriage into a TV show. So I was honored to be asked to be part of the production team. So we have a crew of amazing producers and directors, and we do casting, and we're for it. And it's called Dr. Gail on Love, Sex, and Marriage. And we are working on the pilot right now. And so December is going to be really heavy with filming. We actually already filmed one couple in Dallas, and we're
Oh, wow.
coming back to the DMV for the other two couples. But we are very excited, and then this will be something that we will move forward into a whole TV series, where
Oh,
Dr.
wow.
Gail will be sitting down with these couples and helping to give them tools and resources on how they can get through challenges, difficulties, or enhance some things that are going great in their marriages. And we're hoping to, just be a positive light. You all know reality TV can be really crazy, and
Yeah.
that is not this. So
It's
we
gonna be
all
good.
are in a mission. Gail, absolutely. Gail is on a mission because she feels that marriage gets a bad rap. And I agree with her, and the team does as well. And she's been on a major mission to change that, and really um, get get marriages back on the right track, and get the thought of what marriage is all about back on the subject. A lot of people are against marriage because they just
Good.
don't understand,
Good.
and it's got, like she said, it's got a bad rap. And so this show, I think, will be a way to show marriage in a wonderful light, also show our women in a wonderful light, and our husbands in a wonderful light. Reality TV has
Mhm.
sometimes taken us to all the negative and the hollering, the screaming, and the fussing, and that's not what we're doing. We really want you all to see the good side of marriage. And the other part of the show is to really show that marriage is work, but it's about people who are ready and willing to put in the work. And I mean, I love the work. I love the
That's
ministry of
good.
marriage. And so we're going to change the narrative that's kind of been out there around marriage. So I think, and I'm excited for people to, you know, follow Dr. Gail on Love, Sex, and Marriage. You can follow me, Sean. Mason Lesueur is part of the production
Oh
team as well.
wow.
Yes, and
Great.
Jordan Lyman is the photographer. He's us from photography and filming, and then we have Schwabe, who's the executive director along with Gail, and we have an amazing director Yabwa. So we have an amazing team, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm hoping that this will change, the perception of what marriage is all about, and maybe I know it's marriage is not for everybody. Some people say,
Mhm.
but we want to at least show you that it can be an absolute blessing and wonderful experience to go through marriage and realize that it's not all sunbeams and roses. Sometimes it's some real getting dirty work, but when you want
Mhm.
to do the work, it's a beautiful thing. So I'm excited about that. So that's
What?
the biggest thing on my plate, that's going on. There's some other things, but that's the big one.
Well, Lisa, I kind of need some help. Cause see, y'all
Okay.
not gonna let me. Y'all gonna not let me come to the show because Abraham ain't came yet. I need him to come on. So Abraham, if you're watching tonight, I'm gonna need you to step up to the plate so I can be at this conference to learn more about being a wife. Listen, help a sister out.
Well,
I mean, please.
I will share, Victoria, that I think Gail has also done some classes on for single women as well. I'm not sure if she probably is working on that right now
Awesome.
because we're, heavy into the show, but she has done
Yeah.
some classes where she really pours into, the women who are looking to, looking for marriage or, maybe have gone through a divorce and now they want to step back out there and do it again. So, but she's all for marriage and lifting up the ministry of marriage. That's the work that she's
That's
done.
gonna
She's
be
done it
good.
for a lot of years, and I think that this show is going to really embrace all the work that she's done and really change the lives of a lot of people.
Because let me think now. See, somebody may not have read the book, Lisa, and they don't realize that Dr. Gill was a part of you coming up with that title, though, right, of the book.
She was, as a matter of fact, I'm glad you made that connection. So, and that just goes to show you because that was my pain point in my marriage. But Dr. Gail, I had a personal conversation with her as a friend and was venting. She was one of the people I was venting to about my frustrations. And Dr. Gail was the person. I had three people say those words to me. Dr. Gail was the first person that told me to shut up. And yeah, I did the neck roll and the excuse me. And had we not been on the phone, it would have been like, girl. But I knew it was coming from a good place. And to be honest with you, so Gail's in the book. I also, Stacy, let us, and she is also someone who took it to the Bible
Mm-hmm.
and, showed me quite a few passages that,
Mm-hmm.
suggested that, I needed to be quiet. She was a little more gentle with me. And my mom. So
Oh,
they are all
dude.
they are
She's so
all in the
sweet.
book. I have done a shout out to all three of them. And
Mhm.
Stacy Lattisaw and Gail wrote a small piece in my book
Yes.
because they really were a catalyst for me to do the work. So
Yeah.
absolutely. But Gail was the first one. She did. She told me to shut up. She did.
I
You
think it's
still
so
talking
cute
about that because I was like,
because even at the symposium when when you brought that up and she was like, yo, I mean, and I was so tickled the way she brought it, way she just kind of like, yeah, I did say it, but it was just it's amazing though. But again, you're showing how collaborating with the right people leads to lasting relationships, but it also gave you positivity. It gave you the real behind the scenes look at yourself and look at the situation. And so, shout out to Miss Gail. Thank you for telling Lisa to shut up because I might not would have been able to meet her. But so
yes,
I
thank
thank you
you.
so much for telling her to shut up. But Lisa, I'm still gonna so while y'all at this conference now, ask around, make sure ain't none of those sisters got a brother-in-law that's single. Because I'm just saying, Lisa. Look out for a girl now. I'm just saying, because someone might be saying have a single brother, he's looking for a wife. But anywho, y'all know I got to throw my rod out there now and then. But Lisa, it is always such a pleasure to have you on the show. You got to come back. You got to tell us more. And when it's time for the symposium, we know you got to come back and get us all prepared for that, guys. I'm making sure she knows that we're gonna look for the symposium. So,
yes.
But in the meantime, what y'all need to do is go out there and get your 10 copies of The Power of Shut Up by Lisa Dove Washington. You can get it on Amazon, but you can also, if you be real nice, you might inbox her and she might send you an autographed copy. Because I got 2 of them. This autograph. Right. I got 2, y'all. Plus, I got my face mask. And I got what else I got? Oh, Lisa, girl, them socks. Girl.
I know, and that was a collaboration with another lady, but it was positive affirmation. So, yeah.
I got them
even got, and I didn't have them for the symposium, but I got keychains too.
Oh, well, Lisa, okay, y'all. So y'all buy 10 copies of the book and buy 10 keychains to go with it. That way, you always have Lisa to remind you to be quiet and only speak when you need to. Lisa, it is always. And guys, I can tell you that I'm gonna tell a little bit, Lisa. I'm gonna tell a little bit. I got Lisa thinking,
just a little bit though.
Just a little bit. I got Lisa thinking about a little project for me, y'all. So y'all stay tuned. You just might need to know what's coming forth. But Lisa, you have put that energy back in me, and I thank you, my friend, because, I needed to shut up sometime just to get hold to what I need to get a hold to. So I appreciate you so very much. And you coming and, just giving the airways something bright, refreshing to look forward to. Guys, I need you to go out there to TikTok and follow this chick. She be having me cracking up with some of her stuff, but just make sure on Thursday nights you come back here on Facebook and follow her. She's having some phenomenal guests. The conversation is off the his a chain. You don't want to miss it. And Lisa, when you come back, we want to tap you into telling us some other things about communication in some other areas, the church, the workplace, because those are some places. Sorry, Lisa, they need to learn how to shut up in those areas too. I'm just saying.
Yes.
I'm just saying. Yeah, Kay, great read with them warm socks. I'm telling you, they off the chain. Look, Lisa, that's why I stay up all night working. It's because of the socks. Yeah, I got my feet covered and I'm good. But Lisa, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I'm going to see you on Thursday night. Where I'm going to tune in and see what's going on so I can stay up on my skills. Because you be burning me up some days. I'll be like, dang, Lisa. Can you
I got my book too in my post-it. So I'm reading my book too. I stay in it. I stay student. Wow. Yes, indeed.
See, my other copy looks like that, Lisa.
Right.
I didn't want to show them all. I want y'all to see the nice copy, y'all. This is the copy I don't touch much. The other one, Lisa, I tell you, I'm going to get another copy just to have the right ends, I guess. I don't know. Anywho. But guys, join us next week. We will have with us the wedding officiant expertise. Katrina Holmes Reese will be with us next week. She's going to be telling us all about the wedding business and how you can become an officiant, because now I'm an officiant. So Lisa, I got to find a husband. Don't have to marry my own self. Anywho, guys, come on back and be with us next week.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. So, I can marry some folks now, Lisa. Now I can marry y'all now. So I need to find an Abraham so I can, have that partnership, what we're saying. But anywho, because I'm going to send him to your husband for him to get trained properly, So that's a joke between me and Lisa, y'all. That's our business. But yeah, I'm going to send the future Mr. Holland to your wonderful husband so he can train him up real good. But guys, join us next week on Uncensored Conversation with Elevated, Not Tolerated. And remember, it's time for you to be empowered, embraced, and educated to what? Be elevated and not tolerated, guys. We'll see you real soon.